Okay, we are back with a freshly primed and light blocked set of Shuttlebay bits. One of the things that I did is I light blocked all of these parts. I have some Walmart very cheap black paint. It's 99 cents a can that I use on the back, and then I sprayed it with white primer. That black paint takes forever to cure, so when I sprayed the white primer over it, it wasn't completely cured and it caused it to crack, but since this isn't going to be seen anyway, it doesn't matter. The white is simply to bounce the light around a bit. I would suggest using black primer and then white primer to do light blocking, as I did on the Arboretum. You can't even tell that one of them didn't dry in time and all of that. It's much better. It's more expensive, but it works a lot better. You can also see on the Arboretum, it is all fully primed. And I used tape on the walls because I'm planning to use the photo etch bits for that. So I do want light to pass through the white and hit all these doorways and the screens properly so that we can see in there. Once the Shuttlebay is complete, I will start once I paint the Shuttlebay, I'll start on the Arboretum and the Officer's Lounge. One of the things that you have to remember with these bits is it's very difficult to see in, so don't go crazy hyper detailing these things. I see people with the Arboretum, they'll put, rock pathways and tons of trees, and they'll go absolutely crazy in the Arboretum, and then they put it inside the ship and they can only see, that and only a part of that. You have to get really close to see it, and it's just very difficult to see all of the effort you put in, so don't take too much time. Make it look nice, but don't make it look ridiculous. One of the things that I actually did on my first build was I took the little Super Mario Brother trees that come with it, and I painted those up, and then I used canopy glue on them and put foliage on them to make them look sort of like trees, and it actually worked pretty good. So that's one idea that you can try. On the Shuttlebay, I used a Tamiya primer that will etch into the brass parts, so that's why it's a gray color instead of white. It is much better for not chipping off of all of the brass bits that we just took all that time to put in. So that's why the Shuttlebay bits are gray and everything else is white. So now I'm going to go ahead and paint these. I usually paint the floor a Panzer gray, which is actually very dark, and then I polish it up really good. The thing is, though, you can't really see the yellow decal that goes on this part of the floor when you do that. So I've been thinking about going a little lighter with that. We'll have to see what I decide to do, but on the walls I generally go with a gray that's not much darker or lighter than this. It's actually not much different than the Tamiya primer, so I'll give it a quick shot and see what we come up with. I'm not going to bother using the airbrush with this. I'm just going to use spray cans because they tend to work pretty good for big, large areas like this. Airbrushes are great for, detail spots. So that'll make things a lot easier. Don't be afraid to use spray cans. Just be sure to get an airbrush though for little detail bits, because you can do a lot more fine work with them. On this, we're just gonna kind of go crazy on it. So I will be back once that's all done. We'll have some color down on this stuff, and then I will put the railings on the Shuttlebay bits, and we'll continue from there. So hold tight, and I will be back. And while we wait for the Shuttlebay to dry, we're going to focus a little bit on the Arboretum. The Arboretum, what I've always done, and it's pretty easy to do and it still looks great, is I paint all of the areas just by hand in whatever colors I want. I usually choose a brown for the pathway and blue for the water and green for the grassy areas. Make sure to paint all the benches and such. And then what I do is I go back with canopy glue, and I put down some little grassy material that I got from my local hobby town a long time ago. There's actually enough of it for about $3 to do about 1,000 of these arboretums, so I have a lot of it left over. But what I'll do is I'll just put canopy glue in all of the grassy areas, and then I'll just put this stuff on and tap off the rest, and that gives it a pretty cool, grassy look without too much time spent on it. I'm not too much to spend lots and lots of time on these interior sets because, as I've said, you really can't see once you're done very well. I will put a couple of characters in here, just to kind of give it a little bit of some depth and realism. But also for these holes, I tend to not use the trees that come with the kit, although you can. Like I said, I used them on my first build and they turned out really good, but I've got some material that I can make look like trees, and I usually put those in there instead, so makes it look a little bit better. But you can do whatever you want. You can go as light or as heavy. I mean, I've seen people who've just painted it and put it in and not worried about it, and I've seen people who've gone absolutely crazy on this thing. So whichever one you choose doesn't make a difference whatsoever. And then when I'm done with that, I will put in the photo etch. Now I do have the HDA ModelWorks decals for these. I used them on my last build, and they are fabulous. And he always gives 2 sets per decal sheet, so I actually have another set left over that I didn't use that I'll use on this kit. So kudos to Jerry for doing that. That's always really nice. Plus, if you mess one up, you always have a spare, which is why he does it. So I'm going to start detailing this, and I will be back to kind of show you where I'm at, and then I'll be back again to show you it all finished. So I'll be back in a few. Okay, everyone, I am back, and I've done sort of a preliminary painting on the Arboretum. This is a good chance for me to use all my crappy testers paints that I still have around. I use them for things that aren't going to be seen too easily, so they're sort of a polished finish. Very reflective, so for in here, because I'm going to be covering it up with a bunch of the little grass stuff, it won't show very much. It's mostly just to give it a base color, but anyway, it looks pretty childish right now, but trust me, it will look better, I promise. I've also primed the Arboretum walls, so they're ready for their decals, and I have also done that. So the Shuttlebay is just about ready to go together. I still have a couple more things that I need to do to it, but all in all, it's taking shape very quickly. So as soon as I get the turbo lifts painted and figure out everything else, all the little shuttles and work bees and stuff, we will get it assembled, final assembly, and glued together, and then it'll be ready to put in the secondary hull. So it's coming along very, very well. So next up is decals for the Arboretum, and also the grass stuff that I put in the bottom. So stay tuned. More is coming. All right, and there's the Arboretum all decorated up. So as you can see, when you put a lot of this product in there and glue it down, it actually dresses it up quite a lot. So we're ready for the Arboretum wall, so that will be the next little piece here. So stay tuned for that. They actually add quite a lot of detail to the whole thing, so it should be pretty nifty. So I'll have that on in just a moment. Okay, modelers, we're back. Here is the finished Arboretum, and as you can see, it turned out pretty good. We just used some of the little grass I got at Hobbytown, this stuff here. It was $5. Fine blended turf green. I've had this for a few years though, so the cost has probably gone up like everything else, but I also used some of this stuff that was donated to me by user Wolf359 on Sci-Fi Model Action, aka Dave Pashtag. Dave has built Refit as well, and he's quite an accomplished modeler. He was the one who made a lot of the bases for HDA ModelWorks, but he donated this to me for my builds, so I've been using that to make trees. And what I've done for the trunks is just used some of the wire. I twist 3 or 4 strands together, poke them through the holes, and then I glue some of the turf on top to make little trees. And then I also have some Tamiya 1350 people that I've painted up and put in there. I painted them up in TMP colors. You can do whatever you want. You can put on the maroon jackets or toss colors or whatever you want. But as it turns out, they all turned out really good. And then, of course, we have Jerry's decals that go over the photo etch, and that turned out fabulous, as always. So it sure beats just a regular white wall. And when they're backlit, the doorways light up and the screens light up. So that is a really nice touch. So that's the Arboretum. What I've been doing on the Shuttlebay is putting on all of the handrails. I have all of the girders on, and they're all painted. Everything's all painted up. I even have the floor all done up, nice and shiny. I didn't quite get all of the marks off, but that's okay. They're the ones in the back you can't really see anyway, and these are going to be covered up. I'll just cover up these with shuttles and stuff. It's mostly the one in the front that is the bad boy, so we'll just deal. But I've also annealed and primed the rec deck, and I will be using Jerry's decal for that as well. It turns out just wonderfully. You don't have to mask paint or anything, and it just looks like it's designed to be there. So I highly recommend using it. If not, you're in for a lot of little detail painting. So we're on the tail end of doing the internal sets of this thing. So as soon as we're done with that, we'll start the meat of the project, which is the secondary hull and the saucer. So more on this later. I'll be back when I get the decals on and get some of the shuttles built. This is all mostly just little busy work. This is the part of the kit that's a lot like other kits. So just build it however you want. If you want to go whole hog, do so. If you want to, go nice and easy, do so. Just keep in mind, it's really hard to see back into the shuttle bay. So don't go too crazy. So anywho, I will be back shortly. Until then, hang in there. Be right back. Okay, it is time to put on some decals. Decals. They make everything look cool. So, I have all of the Shuttlebay parts. They're all clear coated. It's important to clear coat them to prevent silvering. Ask me how I know. But yeah, we're going to be putting on the floor decals, which I painted the floor dark, so the little stand here decal, which is this one here, it never shows up very well on a dark colored floor, but I like the dark colored floors better anyway. I was going to do it in a lighter color, but yeah, who wants to do that? So we're going to put on all of the floor decals and all of the little pod decals that go in the walls here, that go in these spots all around. So that should make everything look pretty snazzy, I think. Once we're done with that, I've got a couple of shuttles outside that are currently drying. They're painted with primer and then pearl white, just like I do with the ships. Those will be getting their own decals, which are these guys here. So we will make sure to make them look as cool as possible. I also did a couple of the little boxes using Jerry's decals, like I mentioned earlier. So here's what's left of the decals for that. But anyway, those will be going down in the floor back here towards the back so that you can actually still see them a little bit. I also started on the turbo lifts. I applied the masks on all the little windows from Jerry's clear parts mask set, and I've painted them black. I'm gonna get out the airbrush and paint them probably a silver color of some kind, or an aluminum, or something to make them look a little silvery back there. And Sam says hello. He's wondering what we're doing. But yeah, he's not a very good modeler, so tough. But anyway, we'll paint those and then we'll put those in as well. So I also frosted the top of the Arboretum. This gets a couple of decals on the sides here. You want to frost it so that there's no hot spots. You just do that by spraying it down with some matte clear, what do they call it? Matte coat? Anyway, but yeah, we want to get that frosted up and then put those on so that it'll light it all evenly. So we're all set to do that, so I'll be back in a bit with a freshly decaled Shuttlebay. So stay tuned. And we're back, and here's the state of the Shuttlebay right now. I've got some decals on in there, and as you can see, everything's settled in real nice and it's starting to look pretty good. I don't have the turbo lifts in yet. I just airbrushed those titanium silver, so they're out in the paint booth drying right now, but we have all of our photo etch in and we have everything painted and clear coated in there, so everything's starting to look pretty ship shape. So that's kind of where the Shuttlebay is. I also used some Tester's dull coat again on the top of the Arboretum and also put the decals on, so the Arboretum is complete and ready to install. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. So we are really getting there. Also, for something in the future here, I've primed and painted the shuttles. I'm only going to put the 2 shuttles in there. I thought about putting a couple of work bees in there, but I want to keep this fairly sparse because it's so hard to see down in there when you've got a lot of stuff. So these were painted with primer and then Tamiya TS45 Pearl White, which is what we're going to be painting the outside of the ship as well. So this is kind of a look at it. It kind of has a shimmery look, which is kind of what you want with the Aztec decals. So so far so good. We're making headway. I also, with the Officer's Lounge, finally painted it with its base color, which I used the same gray I used for the walls in the Shuttlebay. So I'm going to go through and just do a little bit of detail painting in there, and then I have some 1/350 scale figures I'm going to paint up and put in the Shuttlebay and in the Officer's Lounge, similar to what I did in the Arboretum. So we are definitely making headway. As soon as these projects are done, we're going to start on the main ships. So the next time I film, we'll be seeing all of this complete, everything glued down, ready to roll. So hopefully that won't take too long. So I hope everybody's enjoying this build series. I'm pretty new to this, so we're trying to keep it interesting and keep it moving. But if there's anything anyone wants to see, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, take care out there, and I will see you in the next one.